Hello, everyone. I did not do the intro. That is on me. You probably had some dead silence there for a second, but that's all right. We are live. We are with the Movie Nights Roundtable, everybody. Welcome back. Thank you. It is just me today. We're going to be doing a little bit of a solo show tonight, but that's okay. The wonderful Nicholas Ericchio is doing great. He's taking some time off tonight. He also made an incredible PowerPoint for a great show. I did cut a lot of it. I'm sorry, Nick. It's nothing personal. I just wanted the show to kind of just be nice and smooth and quick. Quick was the key word there. That dude prepped me for the best show of all time, and I took it and made it shorter for no reason other than it's Friday. We made it through the week. Let's just have fun. Let's relax, and let's not take it too seriously tonight. I just got done watching Scream, the original Scream. I've been watching a horror movie every night in October. Last night, watched Nightmare on Elm Street with my parents. It was amazing. Today was Scream, little Wes Craven back-to-back. Had a great time. God, Scream is such a good fucking movie. Every time I watch it, it's so amazing. The screenplay, just everything. Everything, miss Wes Craven a lot. But anyway, guys, we have a hell of a show for you. As you can see from the thumbnail, we're going to be talking about the Warner Brothers Paramount shakeup yet again because there's another major story regarding it. It's going to be a lot of fun. We have the box office at the end. We have a ton of B-roll stories for you. Let's not waste any more time, guys. Let's get right into it. And we first have to start with the first look that came out just earlier today. Guys, as you know, anyone who watches this show should know, Daredevil Born Again, Season 2, comes out around March of next year, according to everyone involved who's publicly talked about the show. And this time, it is a full creative vision of Dario Scardapane, who came in as the replacement showrunner during Daredevil Born Again's first season. Now, New York Comic Con is this weekend, which, by the way, is a Comic Con I've never been to. I have to change that. I gotta start making it out there. But New York Comic Con, Marvel's doing a panel tomorrow. If it goes Marvel Television, if it goes crazy enough, might have to do an emergency show this weekend. We'll have to see how it fits in the schedule. But ahead of the panel tomorrow, today in Entertainment Weekly, they've released the first look at Charlie Cox in the new Daredevil suit, which had leaked on set prior, but this is the first official look from the studio. Here it is, ladies and gentlemen. Woo, it looks good. I'm a big fan of this. You can finally see the double D's on the chest there. To a non-comic fan, that sounds really bad, but comic fans know exactly what I'm talking about with Daredevil. I think it's a great look at the suit. I think the suit looks amazing. I can't wait for this fucking show, obviously. I'm very excited for the panel this weekend. Wonder Man was also going to be showing at the panel, which comes out now in January instead of December, which Brad Winderbaum, the head of Marvel TV, had talked about and said that it was mostly just due to they didn't want the show to get lost in the Christmas time of people watching like Die Hard and Home Alone and all that stuff, which I thought was a good move. Give the show a chance to breathe. Don't do what you did to Ironheart and just put it out with barely any marketing over 2 weeks and let it die. That was kind of bullshit. Even though overall I was disappointed in that show, the people in the show and the creators of the show didn't deserve that. They didn't deserve to just have it kind of thrown out to die like that. It was dumb. But the suit looks great. I can't wait for this show. What do you think of the first look at the Daredevil suit? Let us know in the comments as we move on to our first main topic story today. And that is this. A few years ago, Fast and Furious 10 came out in theaters, for those who remember, and it ends on quite the cliffhanger. There's driving on a dam, there's a child, there's Jason Momoa. There's a lot going on. We've been so patiently awaiting Fast and Furious 11, or Fast X Part 2, whatever they want to call it. And there's a chance this film might actually not happen, which is wild. This comes to us originally from the Wall Street Journal, but essentially, I'm not going to pull it up here because it's behind a paywall, but essentially, according to the Wall Street Journal, the last Fast and Furious movie may not happen simply due to the fact that Vin Diesel, who's the lead creative producer and star of the films, and Universal cannot come to an agreement over the budget of the film, with about $50 million hanging in the balance. And I wouldn't be surprised if that was just Vin Diesel's fucking salary anyway. But it's wild to think about because not only did Fast 10, whatever you want to call it, not only did it underperform at the box office, especially compared to its gigantuan budget, the franchise, everyone's ready for it to be over. Like, everyone's kind of ready to move on from it. At least, that's how it seems. And it had its heyday. Don't get me wrong. I'm not here to shit talk all of it. But the fact that there's just one movie left, and like everyone's okay with it. Like every fan of the franchise is like, yeah, this is good. We can end the franchise here. Yet $50 million hangs in the balance over what it could be. Now, this also comes off of random reports from other, not trades, but other independent journalists like Jeff Snyder saying that there was actually a Fast and Furious TV show being talked about being made. And I don't know how real that is, where that's going, but clearly, if they're not going to make the last movie, who knows if they're going to be making anything. And it really also comes off of the heels of Vin Diesel really promoting that these movies are made in Los Angeles when a lot of production is in fact leaving not only Los Angeles, but the country itself. So the fact that he's kind of really publicly being like, we're made in LA, we're going to make it in LA, blah, 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 and yet he can't get to an agreement on the budget is aggravating. Now, one could argue it's the last movie in the franchise. Just give him a big fucking budget. Like, does it really that matter? It kind of does matter when you've seen a string of movies the past 2-3 years have gargantuan budgets that fail spectacularly at the box office. You got to be really careful with your budgeting in that way. A lot of companies are starting to do that. Universal, no exception. They're like, listen, we can't just blank check this movie for you. I don't care if it's the last one. We can't just willingly sign up to give away money that we think we're not going to make back. And that's the situation that we're in. Wall Street Journal did a very good cover of that. To my understanding, I'm not even sure if Louis Leterrier is going to come back to direct Fast 11. I think he made Fast 10. We all know what happened with Justin Lin during the production of Fast 10. That was something else. But it's going to be a whole thing. It's going to be a whole thing. But guys, what do you think? Do you think that Vin Diesel and Universal are going to actually not come to an agreement and that Fast 11 may not happen at all? Let us know in the comments as we move on to our next story. And this next one got me incredibly excited. Damien Chazelle is a director who blew up onto the scene about 11 years ago. Oh, wow, I'm old. But about 11 years ago with Whiplash in 2014, which is a fucking awesome movie. If you've never seen Whiplash, Miles Teller, J.K. Simmons, masterclass. Excellent movie made by Damien Chazelle. He then went on to direct La La Land, which is a fucking phenomenal movie. Again, I'm going to say this about his films. If you've never seen Whiplash, go watch it. If you've never seen La La Land, you're missing a sincere place of joy in your life. It's a good cry. It's beautifully crafted. It's an amazing movie. I think I saw it like 5 times in the theater. 4 times? 5 times? And I have it on 4K. Lovely, lovely movie. He then went on to make First Man in 2018 with Ryan Gosling again. And that film got sort of a mixed reaction. I really liked the film. I don't think it's as good as his 2 previous films. I thought it was really well made. I thought it was good. Then you get to Babylon. Babylon is fucking awesome, by the way. I want to make that very clear that I love Babylon. Incredible movie. It's a little bit long and the end is wild, but I think it's great. It flopped spectacularly. That was one of the movies with the big budget I mentioned earlier that flopped really hard. And hopefully time will be kind to that movie, as Margot Robbie even thinks it will, because she loves that movie as well. She stars in it. She's biased, but I think she'd be honest at this point. Anyway, what I'm getting at is he's a fantastic filmmaker. And ever since Babylon, he's kind of been in director jail almost of trying to get his next project off the ground, but having to be budget it modestly and figure out what to do. He's a young guy. I believe he's in his 30s. And we finally have news about the next Damien Chazelle film. Now, Nick and I did report on this a long time ago, back when it was like first semi-announced that this was being made. But now it's more official. This comes to us from Variety, that Daniel Craig and Cillian Murphy are eyed to star in his next film. I'm going to pull from the article directly here. Cillian Murphy and Daniel Craig are in negotiations to star in Damien Chazelle's next film. Chazelle, the Oscar-winning La La Land filmmaker, will write and direct the untitled project for Paramount Pictures, making big moves as we've been reporting. He's also producing with Olivia Hamilton through their company Wild Chickens Productions. Though plot details haven't been revealed, the film is expected to be a prison-set drama, according to Deadline, which first reported the news. If Murray and Craig's deals close, production is aiming to start later this year. My man is directing a movie from director jail. That is crazy. That is crazy of him. But no, listen. Any sort of movie that Damien Chazelle makes, I'm there. I think he's one of the best filmmakers working today. And I also think that The fact that he's been able to kind of diversify the type of movies that he makes, the types of films he makes, are great. Like Whiplash and La La Land are very different films, although you can tell they're made by the same filmmaker. He has a weird style and stamp that he puts on his movies, which is a very different film from First Man, which is a very different film from Babylon. So I like this trajectory of his career that he's on, and I cannot wait for this movie. This immediately becomes one of my highly anticipated movies of next year, which I assume it'll come out next year if they're shooting this year, but listen, and Nick and I say all the time, it's never a bad idea to add talent. Who's more talented than Daniel Craig and Cillian Murphy? And I'm sure that the rest of the cast, as it plays out, as it increases, is going to be amazing, and more people are going to get cast, more great people. No shit, more people are going to get cast. I'm tired, in case you can't tell. Jesus, words. But listen, I think if you're not excited for this movie, there's something wrong with you. I cannot wait for this prison set drama from Damien Chazelle. What do you guys think? Do you think this movie is going to be more Whiplash, more La La Land, or completely different? Let us know in the comments as we move on to our next main topic story. And our next main topic story comes to us from this. Let me pull it up here. I left you hanging there with some dead air from IGN. It's not an IGN exclusive, but that's where I'm pulling up the article from. Predator Badlands is a film that comes out in just a few weeks. I think it comes out in early November. Movie I'm very excited for. I loved Prey on Hulu, which should have been fucking theatrical, by the way. I love Predator Killer of Killers, both made with the heavily involvement of Dan Trachtenberg, who has kind of been overtaking the Predator franchise. And what's crazy is, along with the Alien franchise as well, with Romulus and Alien Earth, of all the franchises that were in the Fox catalog that when Disney bought them back in 2019, of all the franchises that you thought would get revived and done well, admit it, you were worried about Alien and Predator. You were like, I don't know how this is going to go. They've been knocking them out of the park, dude. It's crazy that of everything that Disney kind of took control over, Alien and Predator are like, fuck yeah, we're going to make these great. Let's keep making them. I just love that. I love that whole concept and idea. But Predator Badlands, as we know, comes out later this year, a few weeks away. And it's confirmed to have a PG-13 rating. Why is that news? Well, no Predator film has ever been rated other than rated R, other than the first Alien vs. Predator, I believe, which, kind of doesn't count. So a lot of fans immediately kind of got upset by this, and, they want to see the Predator be a Predator, especially the first Predator movie where a Predator is the main protagonist of the film. They're worried. People are worried, myself included. What does this mean? Why? Well, Dan Trachtenberg and other producers of the film have explained that to get around the MPAA, all you really got to do is make the blood not red. So the Predator's going to be killing a lot of things that aren't human. Therefore, green blood, other colored blood, robot blood, for all we know. We know that Weyland-Yutani robot's in it from the Alien franchise. And I'm not going to pull a direct quote from the article, but essentially, too long didn't read. The big deal is the blood will not be red. Therefore, the MPA agreed to make it PG-13. And you might be thinking, why is this such a big deal? Why is it such a big deal? Well, because a PG-13 movie gets you a lot more options to be profitable at the box office. Hence, kids who are 13 and older, 14 and older can get dropped off by their parents and go watch a movie. They can watch Predator Badlands. More opportunity to get tickets, because sneaking into a movie gets harder and harder with reserved seating and everything. And that way, if it was an R-rated film, couldn't be the case. You'd have to go in with your parent or your legal guardian. I worked in a movie theater for a long time, had to deal with shit like that all the time. But PG-13, how old are you? 14? All right, go watch Predator. So I get the desire from a financial standpoint. From a filmmaking standpoint, it's whatever. And actually, I don't want to pronounce the name wrong. It says Mr. Milk Toast in the live chat says, if a movie needs gore to be good, then the movie isn't good. I agree. And that's the point that I'm getting to, is that one, if your movie needs gore, like you said, that means the movie was never going to be good. The movie doesn't need gore. It's all about expression. It's all about how do we want to tell our story. And typically, a Predator film and the way it tells its story is through the gore that it has. Now, granted, my favorite movie of all time is Jaws. There's 2 or 3 gory moments in that movie. The rest of it's kind of up to your imagination. And that can be scarier and done more well, which is not a phrase, but you know what I mean. Steven Spielberg, of course, is a master, but I think a PG-13 movie, as long as the script's good, the direction's good, they're telling a great story, the acting's good, technical level is well made, you don't need the gore, 100%. But it is nice to know that they were able to find a happy medium and that we can still have the gore that the fans have come to love and how the franchise has come to articulate itself and express itself through different colors like green and non-human blood, while at the same time, financially, maintaining that PG-13 rating, so that way we have more of a chance of making money at the box office, since the last film was a Hulu original, so we have to get the brand back out as a theatrical thing. So this is how we do that. I thought it was an interesting compromise. Now, also, R and PG-13 and all that stuff, a lot of it comes down to, well, do you need to have one rating in order to be able to, tell a better story or not? Yes and no. Logan is a good example that I like to have. The X-Men franchise and Wolverine were pretty great, with the exception of a couple films, but were pretty great with Wolverine in a PG-13 environment, in a PG-13 setting. However, the opportunity came with James Mangold to tell an R-rated story. Therefore, the story they had, which, by the way, was a story about a character whose main desire, after years of living and losing all of his friends, is going to kill himself and his Alzheimer's-ridden caretaker. That's a dark fucking story. That's not a story you can tell in a PG-13 setting. So therefore, the film was rated R to tell a story like that. And while they have rated R, we can be more violent with it, express ourselves in that way artistically. So you kind of got a double whammy of goodness there. Now, the other X-Men films didn't need the gore to be good because they were telling not R-rated stories. But if you're going to tell an R-rated story, then you have more tools at your disposal. It's a very interesting relationship that you can have as a filmmaker with this type of thing. And I think that this film probably realizes, Predator Badlands realizes, like, this isn't an R-rated story, so it doesn't need to be R-rated, so let's take advantage of that. And I think that's where we're at. That's where we're at. But thank you for your comment, Mr. Milquetoast. And what do you guys think? Are you interested, concerned, worried that Predator Badlands may be PG-13? Let us know in the comments as we move on to our next story. And this next story is our main topic story today before we get into the B-roll, of course. And that is this. As anyone who's watched this show for any period of time knows, I am a huge fan of Michael DeLuca and Pamela Abdy. If you're new here, you might be saying, who the ever-loving hell are they? They are the heads of film at Warner Brothers Discovery, for now, until it gets bought out. But, as we know, Paramount is taking time to develop a bid to try to buy Warner Brothers. It's something we've been reporting on for several weeks. So, when that happens, obviously, there's a lot of pushback, a lot of figuring out of who's going to keep their job, who's not going to keep their job, but typically on a purchase big like this, whatever pending contracts a company has, they still have to be fulfilled, normally, depending on the roles and the situations. Well, Deadline has just reported that not only have Michael DeLuca and Pamela Abdy's deals been renewed, but David Zaslav might not have room at the company if Paramount does indeed buy them. Let's pull up the article and take a look at what it has to say. David Ellison's Warner Brothers bid takes shape, no clear role for Zaslav. With new contracts in Warner Brothers Motion Pictures chairs, Michael DeLuca and Pamela Abdy signed, sealed, and delivered, still, David Zaslav run Warner Brothers Discovery is truly poised for purchase by David Ellison and Paramount. Coming off of a $4 million global box office year-to-date, DeLuca and Abdy are clearly WBD's crown jewels and major assets for the Ellisons, which is more than you can say for Zaslav. With the re-upped deals, it's akin to Ellison buying a house and discovering a Warhol painting hanging out back. Sources at both studios tell us that while no formal offer has been sent from Paramount, Skydance, and Warner Brothers Discovery, the Jeff Shell and Jerry Cardinal advise Ellison is just bidding his time before making a bid for another iconic studio. However, it is unclear how far informal pitches and discussions between the parties have been evolved. The article then goes on to say, listen, if David Zaslav is the CEO of not just Warner Brothers, but the entire company, that's a role that there's no longer room for, because that would be David Ellison's role. David Ellison's role would be taking that role, so he's gone. And you may be thinking, well, why is this such a big deal? Like, what's going on here? Well, David Zaslav was going to fire DeLuca and Abdi earlier this year. If for those of you that don't remember, after a Mickey 17 kind of bombed, and they had another film come out that kind of bombed that's losing me in my brain right now. But then you had the multiple successes starting from Sinners and Minecraft all the way to, Final Destination Bloodlines and One Battle After Another, which still has to make a lot of money, but it's doing very critically well. They had a run of, Weapons was another, and they had a string of, 7 films that made over $40 million in its opening weekend. That's never been done by a studio before. And he was going to fire them at the beginning of the year, which is crazy. So now it's ironic that he will likely not have a job after almost firing his crown jewels, which are making the company better for a sale. Now, Mr. Milquetoast in the live chat also brings up, no doubt Zaslav has been feathering his nest in preparation for such a thing. This is also true. It's been very clear from the moves that Zaslav has made ever since buying the company that his plan was to eventually flip the company. Hence, making irrational decisions like at the beginning of the year, almost firing DeLuca and Abdi. Well, now, since he realizes how well they're doing for the company, he's re-upped their deals. So when Paramount tries to buy Warner Brothers, they have to maintain that contract, like I mentioned before. So that way, the company looks better for a sale. And he's doing it knowing that he's not going to have a job. This guy is just trying to fill his pockets with some fucking money before he leaves. I just find it really funny that he almost fired these guys, and now he's likely going to be out of a job whenever this bid takes place. That is wild to me. And it really goes on to show just more and more fuckery happening in the Hollywood studio system, especially when you consider, the Disney and Fox merger, which we mentioned earlier in the show. And now you had the Skydance and Paramount merger. Now Paramount's trying to buy another studio. Now listen, I almost hope that Warner Brothers can still operate as its own company, just owned under the umbrella of Paramount. That would be more ideal than just Warner Brothers disappearing. And then they're just all Paramount now. Now, one of the few silver linings that I think is coming out of this is simply the fact that this means that DeLuca and Abdi might be in charge of motion pictures for Paramount. Guys, that would be pretty fucking cool. That'd be pretty cool to see the types of movies that DeLuca and Abdi greenlight under the Paramount banner as compared to the Warner Brothers banner, but still, the merger is a lot. I'm curious to see how it's going to go whenever it all takes shape, so we'll have to see. But I still want to emphasize that I fucking love DeLuca and Abdi. I think they're doing an amazing job. When they were thinking about firing them earlier this year, Nick and I both talked about what a stupid idea that would be. We were cheering them on through their rings of success, and now we're in this situation again where the company and the people and just the world are finally seeing how talented they are, how great they are, and now they're literally being used as the poster children for this potential acquisition. So that's just something. It truly is just something. Yeah. It's completely unrelated, but I was just thinking about David Zaslav and all the shit he did. I can't wait to see Coyote versus Acme when it finally comes out next year. And you all better spend your fucking money to go watch that movie after we got it saved, finally. I say we like I have something to do with it. I just bitch on the internet. That's all I do. But yeah, still a really, really great thing. But guys, we're going to move on to the B-roll now. But what do you think? Do you think that it's ironic that David Zaslav will likely not have a job after DeLuca and Abdi are going to be going with the Paramount merger if it happens? And do you think that Zaslav knows this is coming? Do you think he's still going to try to just keep a job somehow? Or do you think he's just going to try to fill his pockets with money, fuck off, flip the company, and then let DeLuca and Abdi continue with Paramount? Let me know all your thoughts as we move on to the B-roll. But actually, before we get to the B-roll specifically, let me talk to you briefly about NordVPN and our partnership with them. We have an affiliate link with them. It should be in the description down below. If you are a movie and TV person, since you're watching this show, then you know that sometimes you don't have access to everything. However, if you have NordVPN, you can use it to change your location to another country and use that country's streaming services to your benefit. I like to pitch that option just because we're a movie and television show, but NordVPN does a lot for you. It protects your information. You can browse safely and securely, especially when you're on connections that aren't the most secure, like a public restaurant or a hotel. The VPN can really keep you safe, keep your information safe, and, with, how technology is and how AI is evolving, who knows the new schemes and hacks that can happen to get your information, have a VPN, have it keep you safe. And right now it's for a really, really good discount. Use our affiliate link. You'll be supporting the show as well. I've actually had someone who used NordVPN, who bought it through our link, reach out to me and tell us and tell the show that they love it and that they love using it. So please do yourself a favor. Get NordVPN. I use it every single day. With that being said, the B-roll. Let's get on to it, shall we? First up on the B-roll. Oh, yes. So, Impossible Creatures is a book series, I believe, and Walt Disney Pictures, or Studios, I should say, has signed a 7-figure deal. 7 figures to develop film, television of Impossible Creatures. That is absolutely wild. Clearly, they believe in this quote-unquote IP. And hey, good for them. Good for them. I'm curious about the spend. I mean, part of it just has to be the rights alone and production. I assume there's no way they spent 7 figures on just the rights. That would be insane. I don't have the article pulled up. I'm playing a fun game where Nick has all the links. He has them all set up. And I'm familiar with all the stories because I read them beforehand. But I like to look at the picture and see if it just triggers my memory as to what I can remember about what the story is. But the link should all be in the description as well. So there you go. That's fun. That's fun, isn't it? But yeah, that's crazy. 7-figure deals for anything are insane. Impossible Creatures, interesting choice. All this makes me just the more upset that no one has bought the rights to the Magic Treehouse books, because I'd like to see them because I loved them when I was in elementary school. But anyway, what do you think about this? Moving on to the next thing in the B-roll, and that is this. Ooh, yes. Taron Egerton and I'm going to say Colleen Wing, this is who she plays in Marvel, Jessica Henwick, have been cast in a movie. Guys, this is real. The movie's title is Everybody Wants to Fuck Me. That obviously will not stay the title of the film. However, I'm just happy that it is right now, because at some point a marketing team is going to come along and go, hey, can't fucking call the movie that. It's absolutely got to go. There was a famous movie, was it Cop Out? Or The Nice Guys? There was like a buddy cop style movie that was going to be called A Couple of Dicks, and then it had to change. Titles have gotten a little bit more risky lately, with like Dicks the Musical coming out from A24 and some other stuff. Like even on television, you could tell the show wanted to be called Don't Trust the Bitch in Apartment 123, but Don't Trust the Bee in Apartment 123. You know, it becomes a whole thing. Especially American Fiction. I believe the original title for American Fiction was just Fuck. They had to change it, but for marketing purposes. But yeah, I just love the fact that there's a movie that's potentially being called that. It's kind of like when you see a video on YouTube and it has a crazy thumbnail and title that the creators, of course, eventually change, and you're like, who remembers when it said this? I hope this becomes that thing. I hope people are out there saying, who remembers when this was called Everybody Wants to Fuck Me? But listen, Taron Egerton, Jessica Henwick, fucking amazing actors. That's all you got to tell me. I don't even need to know the title of the movie, which I love the title of the movie, but I didn't even need to know it to watch this movie. You got actors like this, I'm fucking there. That's easy. That's easy money for people like me. And that title, if they somehow keep this title, God, what a funny shitstorm of marketing it would be. I can't wait. And I hope somehow, they're able to keep the title. That'd be amazing. I so doubt it, but that'd be amazing. Anyway, moving on next to the B-roll here, we have this. Chase Infinity, who made her feature film debut, in One Battle After Another, will be campaigning, or the studio, I should say, is campaigning her for lead actress for awards consideration, which I thought was interesting, because when you look at it, there are a number of actors and actresses in the movie that you could run for lead, supporting, or whatever. You know, it's an interesting strategy. Now, usually you run people in the category that you think they can win. Category fraud happens all the time. I think this is a brilliant move by Warner Brothers and a brilliant move by her team, because it puts her in the conversation of who is this person and gets people in Hollywood talking and interested. Even if she doesn't get nominated, which she might not, I think it's an interesting move, for sure. And she gives a great performance in that movie. It's unbelievable. But yeah, I just thought that was interesting and wanted to point that out. Now, it's also important to point out, just because that she runs in a category does not mean that that's the category she would get nominated in if she was even nominated. I believe Lakeith Stanfield for Judas and the Black Messiah, I'm digging in my brain here, I'm pretty sure he ran was, being promoted in one category, but then got nominated in a separate category. I'm 99% sure that happened. Anyway, moving on here to the next thing in the B-roll. Oh, this one's very interesting. We reported on the show a while ago that there was a new Oceans movie in development, separate from the one that George Clooney is trying to produce, I believe, with Margot Robbie and Ryan Gosling, and it was going to be like a Barbie reunion between the two, but it's set in the Oceans world. Awesome, right? Well, Ryan Gosling has seemingly dropped out of the movie, and in early talks to replace him is Bradley Cooper. I love this for Bradley Cooper. Oh, I switched to the wrong camera. I love this for Bradley Cooper. I think that I'm a big Bradley Cooper fan. I know it's fun to hate on him now on the internet because of, the Bernstein film that he made, Maestro, which I didn't think was a bad movie. Was it as good as I hoped it was? No, but I liked the movie. But anyway, not important. Interesting choice for a replacement, and for someone who's mostly been focused on their work behind the camera, it's interesting to see him really go after a role that's going to be juicy and big that he clearly wants. Like it's from someone who thinks he's a phenomenal actor. Like, that's very interesting and cool to see, because typically now when he's in front of the camera, it's for fun cameos like Dungeons and Dragons, like Superman. But seeing him really want a role that he's not going to be involved directorially or producing wise is interesting. It's fun. It's almost like someone rediscovering their love. I'm not saying he fell out of love with acting or anything, but it's rare that a movie star like this, who's changed the trajectory of their career, to be like, oh no, I want that. I'm going to go after that. For an Oceans movie? Hell yeah. Hell yeah. But I am sad that Ryan Gosling's not going to be in it, just because I adore Ryan Gosling and I think he's a phenomenal actor. And I really wanted to see that Barbie reunion, but, it is what it is. It happens that way. But, if they can get Bradley Cooper, that is amazing. And I hope it can work out. And I hope to find out more about the movie as well. Like, that's just kind of something I really want to see. Hold on, I'm pulling up something for our next story here, because I don't want to get a director's name wrong. Doing the show live. This is the stuff that you see. Here we go. All right, here we go. Excellent. Next up on the B-roll, there is a sequel coming to The Curse of La Llorona. That movie was not great, but the director, Michael Chavez, eventually went on to direct other films in that franchise, including The Conjuring 3, The Nun 2, Conjuring 4, to varying levels of success. So The Conjuring 3 was fine. The Nun 2 I thought was terrible. Conjuring 4, better than 3. I've liked seeing him grow as a director. Now, this film, the sequel, will not be directed by Michael Chavez. I believe it's being directed by Santiago Megani, Canadian filmmaker. Forgive me if I pronounced it wrong. I believe that is who's going to be directing this film, who is famous for an award-winning short film, Milk, and made his feature debut with the 2021 horror movie No One Gets Out Alive. Interesting choice. I'm not familiar with the work, but I like when these franchises kind of give young upcoming filmmakers, not young, I should say, young in terms of their career, filmmakers, like a chance to really pop off and do amazing things, and give them a chance with some, not a crazy budget, but a little bit of money to, like, hey, here's your shot. Let's show us what you got. I like when that happens, because I think Michael Chavez has improved as a director, and I hope this filmmaker can do the same and see interesting things there. Mr. Milquetoast has some other things to say. He says, this franchise lost me with that last scene of the last spinoff. I wonder if we're talking about... I talked about Fast and Furious earlier. Is that what we're talking about? Hobbs and Shaw? Is that it? I don't know. I do not know. That's my bad. He also adds that horror movies are hot these days. That is true. Horror movies are indeed hot these days. And, they're really hot all the time. And that's something that I've always tried to be, not conscious of is the word, but I always try to, tell that to people and just be like, horror movies always do well. Typically because their budgets can stay really low. Oh, you mean the Ocean 11 spinoff? Okay, that makes sense. That makes more sense. The Ocean's 11 spinoff. Yes, I get that. But yeah, it's one of those things where horror movies usually keep their budgets low, so that there's not a huge margin for how successful it needs to be. Therefore, they can be hot, especially if a movie goes way past that margin, like a Weapons, which is only made for less than $40 million, and it's like at $250 million or something like that. Really great margin. But yes, Mr. Milquetoast, understandably, the Oceans spinoff lost me with the last scene of the last spinoff. I don't remember the last scene. I don't think I've actually seen that movie, so I'd have to ask Nick. Nick's a big fan of the franchise. Anyway, moving on here. That will wrap up the B-roll section. So now, of course, it's time to move on to the box office. Guys, look at how embarrassing this is. I fucking did terribly in our predictions last week. Nick almost crushed it. Nick got 4 out of the 5, which is crazy. Which we're going to talk about here in just a minute. But let's pull up the box office results from last week and dive into those numbers together. Nick, you almost had it. Nick, you were off by $500,000. That sucks, dude. All right, let's see. Yeah, I think that's enough. Okay. Box office results last weekend. Here we go. The Taylor Swift official release party of A Showgirl came in first with $34 million. On a 2-week notice. That's pretty good. You got to hand it to him there. One Battle After Another dropped exactly 50%, which is pretty good, making another $11 million. If it can keep that drop from here on out, it's in good shape. But it's got to be careful if it really wants to make that money back, which we'll dive into in a minute. Smashing Machine made $5 million in its opening weekend, 5.8, and we'll get into the complications of that here in just a minute. Gabby's Dollhouse dropped 61% from week 1 to week 2, making $5.3 million. And it was The Conjuring Last Rites that came in 5th, making $4.1 million in its 5th week, and Demon Slayer making $3.5 in its 4th week. Avatar: The Way of Water re-release came in 7th with $3.2 million in its 147th week. I love doing that bit. Strangers Chapter 2 in 8th at $2.8 million. Good Boy at 9th with $2.3 in its opening weekend. Good for that small little movie. And The Long Walk at $1.7 million in week 4. All right. Moving on here. Taylor Swift's film has made $50 million worldwide already. Sweet Jesus. And I don't have the budget for it here, but I guarantee you it's already making money. I guarantee you it's already making money. One Battle After Another now has $113 million worldwide, officially Paul Thomas Anderson's highest-grossing film, which is nice to celebrate. However, it does have a budget of $140 million, so it's at 0.8, and if it wants to make that budget back, it's probably going to has to get to like 300-something million probably, so might not happen. But again, if it can maintain that 50% drop through the fall, if they leave it in theaters, it's not impossible, but we're going to have to see how it does still. The Smashing Machine, $9 million worldwide total. The budget's not listed here, but the reported budget, according to some trades, was $50 million. That is a lot. That is a lot. And I wonder how much of that was just The Rock's salary. Honestly, it was probably most of it. Emily Blunt, too. She's expensive. Gabby's Dollhouse has $36 million worldwide on a budget of 1.1, so might not be theatrical profitability, depending on how much more it can make, but it'll probably make some good, decent stuff on streaming and on PVOD, I should say. Streaming just depends on the rights purchased. Mr. Milquetoast adds, does this make Taylor Swift the queen of concert films? I think it does. Personally, I think it does. Conjuring Last Rites, $460 million worldwide. God damn, on a budget of 55, those low horror budgets, as we were mentioning earlier. 8.4 times the budget. That was another win for DeLuca and Abdi, by the way. I believe that's Warner Brothers. Demon Slayer, $630 million worldwide. Budget's not listed. I can tell you that's a smashing success. Smashing, like the wild thornberries. Strangers Chapter 2, Jesus, $13 million worldwide box office. $8 million. Again, another low-budget horror film. However, the first one was panned so hard. The first one, that was a reboot. The original Strangers is awesome. Was panned so hard that the second film is having a hard time getting off the ground, even at such a low budget. $13 million is not going to be enough for a theatrical profitability. Shame. I hate to see it happen to any film, really. Good Boy. Worldwide box office of $3.5 million. I could not find a budget last week when we were searching for it, but it looks like for a movie that didn't even plan to have a bigger theatrical release beforehand, I think this is a really great start for it, especially considering it was supposed to be a streaming original. So it made $3 million more than it would have made than the very few theaters it was going to be released in. So good for that film. The Long Walk, $44 million worldwide on a budget of 20. It's at 2.2. It looks like it's just going to come just shy of theatrical profitability, but we'll see how it does on PVOD and digital purchases, which they don't really release those numbers for anymore, but it's one thing. It's one thing. Ooh, Calixer's in the chat, and he brings up a very, very good point. Can't wait to see what Stuckman makes opening week. Dude, I can't wait either. That film comes out, Shelby Oaks comes out in 2 weeks, 3 weeks? I think it's the weekend right before Halloween, the weekend before Halloween. I can't wait to see that movie. I think it's going to be so good. I hope it's so good for Chris. I've been following him for years. And I'm also very curious to see what it makes opening weekend, because I think the marketing has done a very good job. However, it's still very niche. So we're going to have to see how it goes. I know that the budget of the film was just over $1 million. And then when Neon purchased it, they gave him a little bit more money to go do some reshoots on it. But from what I understand, it was not a lot. So we're probably talking about a less than $5 million spent in total on the production of Shelby Oaks. So has a low margin, but I'm hoping that it can do a little well and see how it does. Absolutely, for sure. Cannot wait for Shelby Oaks. That's going to be exciting. Now, it's time for predictions for next week. So Tron comes out. That'll probably make more than 15 or whatever. Collector says it'll definitely make at least 10 million. He says, I have faith. I could see it making 10 million. I would really love it if it made more than that, but I think that's a good margin. I think it's a good margin for sure. Pulling out my phone just to see other stuff coming out this weekend, other than Tron Ares. Colixer says Tron was so bad, and I've heard a lot of that. I haven't seen it yet myself, but guys, I had a hell of a week. I had 3 press screenings that I had to cancel. Ton of shit going on at work and personal life. Hannah's still out of the country. I wanted to freaking Baja blast my brains out, but don't worry, we made it. We made it to the end of the week. Here we go. Tron Ares comes out. Let's see. Gotta love it when it's live. You gotta see. Oh, cool VFX Calixer ads. Oh, Roofman comes out. God, I can't wait to watch that. That's another screening I had to cancel. Let's see. All right. Here are the predictions, everybody. I'm going to go Tron Ares number 1. I think the Taylor Swift thing was just a one weekend affair, so we're good there. Calixer adds, cool VFX, but everything else about it hurt. It was boring. Writing was so bland too. It sounds like a lot of movies in your backlog. Yeah, a lot of movies in my backlog. How is Baja Blast from a bottle? It's not bad. It's not bad. I was able to get it at Publix. Let's see. Oh, yo, tomorrow they're doing the Spider-Man trilogy again. I know what I'm doing. Tomorrow. All right, I'm going to go Tron Ares number 1. Oh, Kiss the Spider-Woman. That's not going to make money, though. Okay. We got some interesting stuff going on. I'm going to go Tron Ares number 1, which I've said 4 times now. I'll go One Battle After Another number 2. I'll go Roofman number 3, Smashing Machine number 4, and I will do Conjuring number 5. I don't think Kiss the Spider-Woman's going to get in the top 5, considering Conjuring made $4 million. Yeah, I don't think, honestly, I think Kiss the Spider-Woman's going to make like $1 million, which is a shame. But those are my predictions, guys. What are your predictions for the box office next week? Let me know in the comments below, and if you're right, we'll shout you out on the show next week when we go live. I should be able to do a show live next Friday. We'll have to see based on the stuff. Oh, Calixer adds, Calixer thinks it's fucking amateur hour over here. Why didn't you invite me to see Spider-Man 3? Name that movie. That's fucking knocked up, bro. That was with Paul Rudd and Leslie Mann. Before their spinoff movie, This Is 40. Come on, dude. Come on. I remember that because Leslie Mann very hilariously then cries and says, I like Spider-Man, when Paul Rudd said he went to go see it without her. That's a great movie. Knocked Up is great. He said, sick pool. Dude, see, you knew it. You knew it was going to happen. Mr. Milquetoast adds, predictions, to quote Rocky 3, pain. It's always pain. Calixer says, I apologize, did not recognize your game. That's right. You should have recognized the game. 100% when it comes to those early 2000s, late 2000s sex comedies. You should have realized my game. Oh, but guys, I know it was a quick little show tonight, but, I wanted to hop on, wanted to just go through some news, talk about it with you guys. I appreciate the participation today. As always, thank you so much for watching, and we'll see you on the episode next week.